Alright, welcome back to the classroom. So last time we talked about offense and specifically about striking the balance between maintaining possession, keeping the disc, and invading territory, making yards upfield. This week we're going to switch the focus to defense, but I want us to think about playing defense with a similar sort of dynamic. And in this case, the balance is going to be between containing the offense and putting pressure on the offense. So when we think about playing pressure defense, we're thinking about being very active. We're generally focused on a single player and reacting to their movements. Our aim is to stop them from getting the disc or to stop them making a throw, and we are actively trying to get blocks. So this is probably the way most of us first learn to play defense. We're assigned a single player and our job is to shut them down across the course of the point and just make sure that they don't get the frisbee. Playing good containing defense often comes with a bit of experience once we understand the game, and our priority sort of shifts from a focus of a single player to shutting down the whole team, to working as a team on defense to shut down the offense. And our goals are things like stopping immediate continuation throws, slowing down the offense, minimizing their yard gains, and basically forcing them to make a lot of passes. So I want to go through a few examples of playing pressure defense and containing defense on the whiteboard here. Okay, so in this situation we've got black team on offense with the yellow disc playing up the field towards this end zone. Red team on defense. So we're just going to focus on the cutter here to begin with. So thinking about pressure defense, my job here is to deny this player access to the disc. Wherever they cut, I'm going to react to their movements and just try and make sure that they can't get the frisbee. Obviously we have a bit of strategy here. It's not just following a player and trying to be as tight as possible. We do have a forcing strategy, so I am weighting my priority towards the open side, but making sure that if they cut break, that I can also get pressure on that throw, and if they were to go deep, that I'm also going to be close enough to pressure them as a receiver. The disadvantage is that because I'm marking so closely, if I get beaten or sold by a quick fake, I may give up the space that I was protecting. If we think about containing the offense in a sort of 1v1 situation to begin with, what I'm going to do is I'm going to assess what the biggest threats are in this situation. I may decide this team isn't very good at throwing breaks and it's really windy, they can't really throw deep at the moment, so any attempt to throw into this space or this space is going to be a difficult throw where we may get a block anyway. What I'm really interested in stopping is the easy throw to this space. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to drop right off my marker, and now what I'm doing is shutting off, making sure that the biggest threat is not available. And that may mean that I leave other passes open, but I've made an assessment in my mind that those are risky throws anyway. So the advantage here is that if my player tries to cut into this region, I'm going to shut it down. The disadvantage is that sometimes these throws will come off and I'm going to be out of position. Another situation here, marking a reset handler. If I want to put pressure on both the up the line cut and on the swing pass, then I'm going to have to mark tight. But I run the risk of being close, that I am beaten up the line, and the offense may get the disc in this power position where they're able to move forwards. So if I was thinking about containing in this situation here, I might decide to drop right off. Okay, the swing pass is protected by the force. I'm going to make sure that I'm not beating up the line. I give up the swing pass, but I've already assessed that that is a difficult pass for the offense in this situation. I'm not going to get beaten up the line because I've decided that this is the biggest threat for the offense, is for their reset to get the disc up the line. If this was a strong player, we didn't want them to get the disc. If this team was good at swinging and attacking the other side, then maybe I would think, let's put some pressure on in this situation and see if they can actually manage a reset. So we are constantly assessing, as the offense advances, as the disc moves, whether we're in a position where we should think about containing, stopping the main threat, with the disadvantage of leaving other throws open, or if we need to apply some pressure to try and deny that person getting the disc, or to try and actively get a block. So here's a situation where we are poaching upfield a little bit. Okay. Off the reset handler, we're trying to stop the IO just to help out the force here, and a swing pass goes. If I was thinking about immediately putting some pressure on that thrower, then I would make this sort of path towards the disc to get my force on. So I'm going to get to the disc quicker, I'm going to be able to pressure the disc quicker, which means I'm going to be able to stop throws quicker. But we know that these swings to the break side are really dangerous, and the time it takes me to get to this position, this throw could go. When we're thinking about containing the offense, minimizing the yard gains, cutting off continuation throws, our pass to the disc is going to be different. So as the swing pass goes, we've decided our priority is to stop the break side continuation. We're going to come over to here to begin with. Now that's great. We'll have stopped that pass. We're going to send the disc back into the area, hopefully where our defense is. We've limited any yard gains. But we can't just hang out here for the rest of the stall count, because we're just going to allow the disc to move somewhere else. So once we have the offense contained, we need to think about how to apply some pressure. Close in, hold our force, and get active to try and put pressure on every throw and try to get a block. So if we're always going to think about putting pressure on the disc, we're going to have to accept that sometimes we're going to get beaten and we're going to give up throws into threatening spaces. Conversely, if we're always trying to contain the offense and we're not putting any pressure on the disc, we're always going to allow a free pass, and if the offense is good at keeping the disc and moving it up the field with small gains, they are eventually going to score. So we want to be able to strike the balance as individuals and as a team of when we need to contain and when we need to pressure. Generally, as play develops, every time the disc moves, we should be thinking about containing the offense first of all, and then applying some pressure. If we can use ways to contain the disc, to stop it from moving, to stop continuation, to stop big yard gains, we can slow down the offense, we can shut down their primary options, and we can build a high stall count situation. Stall 5, stall 6. In this sort of situation, if everyone can then tighten up, put some pressure on their individual players, then high stall count throws are going to go up, we should be close to our man, and we're going to generate chances to get some blocks. Okay, so here we've got a situation where the offense is set up in a vertical stack, and our blue team is setting up off a static disc they're thinking about containing the offense by shutting down the primary threats. So we've got a couple of players here marking the undercut, a deep poach here to make sure that a long disc can't go straight off. We've got a force protecting around the back, a reset marker trying to stop the up the line. We've got some break side mark here, and we've got someone marking the swing space to stop this disc coming out to this player here. So the thoughts here on defense are, if we can contain the offense for those first few seconds of the stall count, take away their primary options, then we're going to engineer a situation where the offense gets to stall 4, stall 5, and has to make a higher pressure throw. Maybe it's going to be stall 6, stall 7. But what the danger is here is, as the offense starts moving and we have to pick up players that cut towards the disc, we might actually end up with 3 players that can just be thrown to. So we need to be really aware that when we stop the first few options, when we need to get tight and when we need to apply pressure. So a switched on defense in this sort of situation are going to soak up these first few cuts. They're going to deny the first look for a reset, and then realize that we're getting to a situation where we could get a block. We don't want to get them out of jail easily. So everyone's going to tighten up on their man. And we're now saying at stall 5, stall 6, you've got 5 seconds, maybe 1 or 2 cuts with me right on your back to try and make this pass. Otherwise, it's a turnover. Right, so in this setup here, the offense is playing out of a horizontal stack, handler with the disc, 2 reset cutters. And we have defenders here who are thinking about containing the offense. So first of all, we've got a deep player who's decided that their man isn't a threat. Okay, so they've made the decision to help out the team, to contain by sitting in a deep area to take away these deep throws. He's also got a bit of cover from this player who's now marking both of these break side cutters, so that if any of them wanted to cut across to the open sides, they could then pick them up. And we've got some handler marks which are jumping into the break side lane and the open side lane here, just to try and take away, deny any upfield throws. So we've got open side cutters here, and we've got defenders that are tight on them, so we're not going to allow any easy throws to those players, and they've obviously got a lot of help in the areas that they would need to protect. So by doing this, we are denying those primary options for these cutters. We are denying any upfield passes, hopefully, and really forcing the offense to look towards its reset. Now, if we can do this well, these players here are going to anticipate that moment, switch their focus to playing pressure D, and get tight on those resets. Hopefully we should get to a situation where we're now stall 5, stall 6. The thrower has looked around to find a reset and find someone that is tightly marked on both sides, and we can try and put some pressure on the disc where the offense needs to get a pass away in sort of 3 to 4 seconds. So again, we're thinking about containing to begin with, and as the stall count progresses, putting some pressure on, generating a high stall count situation so that we can try and get a block from a riskier throw. This doesn't just apply to static situations. We should be thinking about it every time the disc moves. So let's say, for instance, that this player here gets the disc. our immediate thoughts here are, can we contain the offense? Okay? Can we stop that next throw, continuation throw, that next upfield throw? Can we get them in a position where this player has to hold on to the disc for at least 4 seconds before they can find a free pass? So everyone's going to react. This offense player isn't a threat. So again, this defender can maybe jump out into that deep space to try and cover for this player. Our force is going to come on to here. We have some handler marks back down the field. They're maybe going to rush upfield. They're not worried about a pass going backwards at stall 0. They're more worried about the pass going forwards. So they're going to rush up. This player's cutting deep. Rush out into these lanes to try and fill this space for the first couple of seconds to stop the disc continuing to go upfield. And then, again, anticipating when they're going to look at the reset and coming in to apply some pressure. Alright? So, it's very sort of position dependent. Every time we move the disc, we want to think, is our player an actual threat? If we don't think they're a big threat, can we look for a situation where we can help out the rest of the team? And at what point should we then get back to our assigned player and put some pressure on them? So there will also be situations where as soon as the disc moves, maybe we don't want to get into just a containing position, but maybe we want to apply pressure straight away. So for instance, if the disc was to move right to the sideline, we might judge that this is a really tough place to throw from. We don't want to allow them to have an easy reset or backwards throw where they can get it back into the middle of the pitch, or we don't particularly rate this thrower's capabilities. We're not worried about them putting it deep, so we don't really want a deep poach. And we're just going to put pressure on from stall 0. So everyone's getting tight to their man and saying, can you make a throw off the sideline to a tightly guarded player? So here we've got a situation, we're marking out a vertical stack, we've got lots of players tight to their man, marking the open sides, our force is on, we've got a bit of break side help here just to contain any throws to the break sides, and we've got a handler mark who's jumped out into the open side lane. Now, stopping those first throws upfield, that's great. We talked about then applying some pressure on this reset. But we might not always want to do that. It may be that actually we decide that if the offense moves the disc back here, they've gone backwards, they've gone closer to the sideline, perhaps this is their best thrower and we're actually getting the disc out of their hands. So this might be beneficial for us. So hanging out in this lane as a containing player and taking away all the upfield options and making the offense take this free open pass can actually work in our favour. So we allow them to take that pass, and when we change our mindset into applying some pressure onto this thrower, which is in a worse position and maybe not as capable as the person who had the disc originally. So that's pretty much everything that I wanted to get across. Let's not forget that a big part of defense is just being athletic, positioning yourself correctly, being aware, reacting, and making some plays and being better than the person you're marking against. But I want us all to think about how we play defense as a team and to think about it as a thought process. To know when are the right situations where you should be helping your team, containing the offensive flow, and when do you need to get tight on your mark and apply some pressure. See you all on Wednesday. Right, welcome back to the classroom. Couple of sessions left to go, so blah blah.